Hi everybody, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make the snake game in Scratch. So let's get started. Now the snake game is a game where you're a snake and you use arrow keys to move and get apples. And if you hit a wall, you die. Now there's also a settings menu where you can adjust everything, but we're not going to be making that in this tutorial because it's pretty advanced and it might take me some time to figure out. And it's pretty complicated. But still, I'm gonna see if the settings menu, if we can actually make a settings menu. So yeah, let's see what happens when we touch our tail. Now see when we touch our tail, it um it loses and it shows the score. So now we know how the snake game looks like. We can start coding it in Scratch. So in this video, we're going to be making the snake movement. So let's get started. So first thing we can do is delete this cat sprite and paint a sprite. We're going to name it player. And we can make the player head by making a circle that looks green or any color you really want it to. Then we can center it and we can make two circles that are black. Now how I make them perfect circles is I hold shift so we can center it. Then we're going to go to code and we're going to start coding. Now we're not making the body first of all, because we're going to use the body by using the extension pen. So let's go add that extension. So click on this blue button right here and add the pen extension. Now we can start by coding the movement with a one flag clicked into a forever loop with 4 ifs. Then we can get a key up arrow pressed, and then the second one is down arrow, then it's right arrow, then it's left arrow. So at the start, we're going to do point and direction 0, then point and direction 180, point and direction 90, and point and direction -90. Now, since we got all of this, we're going to do move 4 steps. So it moves, and we got our player head moving properly. Now, the first thing we need to do is make another sprite called renderer. And we're going to be using this sprite to render the whole entire tail. But we're not going to be drawing the tail because again we're using the pen. So we're not going to draw anything. So this is the thing that's going to actually make the tail. So inside this we need a block. We're going to call it render. Now we're going to do this with run without screen refresh. And we're going to make a variable called next position. For all sprites. Then click OK, and we can hide that because we don't really need to show that next position variable. So at the starting, you can go to the pen and erase all, pen up, go to player. After it goes to the player, go back to the pen, pen down, set the next position to 1, then repeat loop, and in that repeat loop, we're going to make a list called player X for all sprites and player Y also for all sprites. So we're going to hide both of those lists. We're going to see if the length of the player X, and then we're going to do that -1, and we're going to put that in the repeat loop. Then we're going to go to, and we're going to do the item next position of player X, and then item next position of player Y for the Y. Then we're going to change the next position by 1, and in this we're going to make a one flag click loop, and in this one flag click loop we're going to do forever render. Now this is not going to make the tail because we actually didn't set up the lists. So to set up the list, we can set that up in the player. So go back to the player sprite, and we're going to make a variable called player length, just like that. And we're going to make that for all sprites, and we can hide that. Now we're going to get a one flag clicked, and we always delete everything from our lists. Well, most of the time. So delete all of player X and delete all of player Y. Then we can set the player length to 20. Now for ever loop, insert, and we're going to do X position at 1 of player X and Y position at 1 of player Y. Then we're going to get an if statement, and then the length of player X is greater than the player length. Then we're going to delete length of player X and delete length of player Y of player Y. Now, you see, when we start, we got the snake and its tail working properly. So, now, if you see that the tail is pretty thin, so let's fix that. So, go into the renderer sprite and set the pen size to 15. You might need to change these values, but in this case, this is looking good for my snake. And it matters what the size of your player is. So mine is 20 by 21. You can copy that if you want to. So, yeah. This is it for the first episode of our snake game tutorial series. And later on, we'll be adding so you can collide into walls and die, and also losing when you touch your tail, and adding a score and some things you actually have to collect. So that we'll be doing that in the future episodes. But anyways, this is Shiftin, and I am out.